It's time to talk with Jay Foss.
Thanks so much for calling in. I really appreciate you.
You're welcome. I appreciate you too, Jay Foss.
The magic happens when you have the right person in the right place at the right time.
If we're having fun, everyone else is going to have fun naturally.
Keep it local radio.
I'm obsessed with transformations on this show. And so I guess that in this case, you are that paradigm shift. You are the thing that transforms people. That's what people call me.
Want to connect with Jay? Dial in.
But then the question is everyone tuned into the right frequency?
Are you tuned in?
Making our corner of the world a little brighter.
Did you make the right decision here? Like, are you, did you bite off more than you can chew?
In figuring out what makes people tick whenever we start something new.
Yeah.
There's always that question of
raising your inner voice.
Wait, was this too much? Did I start hiking a mountain that's a little too high for my level of experience?
With Jay Foss.
It's a quote by Thoreau. The price of anything is the amount of life you exchange for it.
Not just another talk show.
We cover all things that make us human.
It's time to be heard.
How can my values and how can these inner thoughts that I have help me be a more whole human being?
Online and on air.
We can't legislate being a good, decent human being. So what can we do? We can become more active in this community.
Raising your inner voice with Jay Foss.
Hey, party people. Welcome back to Raising Your Inner Voice. We take these evenings, Sunday evenings together here at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And really, we dig into what is this human existence that we're all living. And I particularly love chatting and talking with creators because I think creative people have answers to the world's problems that we don't always necessarily give them credit for. But we do deep dives, right? So we do deep dives and special guests on some evenings. Some evenings, it's all about you, dear listener, though I know each evening is technically about you because this is raising your inner voice. Well, I'm very honored to have a creator on the show this evening, Count Bass D, a musical luminary whose journey began in the 1970s, has become an influential force in the realm of hip-hop. He was inspired by the musicians of his father's church, sparking a fervent passion for music that would guide his creative path. His musical voyage embraces a range of instruments. Armed with a strong foundation in music theory, he meticulously crafted his signature style, and you're going to get a taste for that this evening, drawing inspiration from a vast array of genres and sounds. Count Bass D's instrumental role in the hip-hop landscape is underscored by collaborations with industry giants such as MF Doom, the Beastie Boys, and Snoop Dogg. 30 years yields an eclectic body of work. He's been in this game for 30 years, where the interplay between sampling and lyrical finesse forms a symphony of artistic expression. He has performed in China, at Coachella, and many places in between. His unwavering commitment to staying true to the game serves as an enduring testament to the power of creativity, authenticity, and the transformative magic of hip-hop. Count Bass D, thank you so much for being a guest on the show this evening. Welcome to Raising Your Inner Voice.
So glad to be here. Thanks for having me, Jay Foss.
Absolutely. No, it's an honor. So your most recent release is Player Programmer. Right. Talk to me. Where did this concept come from? And dear listener, you should know that this is an instrumental album, mostly.
Yes. This album is just, as you do instrumental records, we make beats. I come from a hip hop tradition, and we make beats out of forged sound sources all over. So it's kind of like an oral graffiti, if you will. So what we do is we kind of take a piece from here, take a piece from there, and we put it all together and try to make sense of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I got a very distinguished guest here in the studio with me tonight. One of our big-time stars.
When you do a hard day's work, man, you come in, get your shower, you jump in your clothes, and go out there and get the store and get over to the downtown. You go back. Hush your fuss.
This album, you know, you have, I play instruments, so that's where the player part comes from. But when you start doing computer sequencing and things, you're programming the music. And so, you know, you have a singer-songwriter. So in this case, I'm a player programmer. So I'm playing some instruments and programming some beats. And it's just the latest episode in how I make music.
Absolutely. Well, and why go the instrumental route as opposed to an album with more singing and rapping?
Well, what happens is the goal is to finish a vocal album, but in the meantime, you have a lot of instrumental beds that usually don't work for lyrics, or sometimes the lyrics just don't come for them. But it doesn't mean that I don't enjoy the instrumental bed anyway. Mm-hmm. So once I get enough of them that make some sort of a sense, and I can put some kind of a cohesive theme together, then I'll usually also put together an instrumental record, because that way you can kind of study to it, or you can kind of have a conversation while it's playing in the background, and you don't have to sit and just listen to what I'm saying per se. It can just have the music going on. And so, you know, a lot of people just want to hear some of the other beats and things that we do that's not, you know, with vocals and things on it. And so, you know, I've probably done this now. Jeez, man, I've lost count. May have done 20, 25 instrumental albums over the years. So it's just, you know, part of the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
well, and how do you stay in tuned, having made music for so long? How do you keep it fresh, and how do you keep it something that you're actually excited to continue doing, as opposed to like a traditional 9-to-5 job that most people, right. I think over time, it's more acceptable that people get frustrated with their work?
You know, I'm not really sure, because I think as long as I'm not trying to do something big and bold with it, you know, as far as like where sales is the bottom line, then I can keep it interesting, because then I'm just doing what I'm doing. If I have a pressure of meeting some sort of a commercial, hitting some sort of a commercial mark, then at that point it's going to be taxing, because now I'm not just doing what I'm doing and presenting it. Now I'm having to, you know, put a lot of different moving parts together to try to hope I can make it more attractive, to make it move more units. And when you get into that zone, I think time is limited and what you're able to do is limited. But when you try to position yourself in a way to where that's not a factor, then that's when you can be unlimited, and you can just really, you know, as you go about your day, the same way you get up and make coffee, the same way that you watch a show, the same way that you, whatever else you go about your business doing, and you don't just sit in one place all day waiting to do something, right? So it's the same way with the creativity. As long as you're doing it with that same spirit, and not, oh, I'm going to the refrigerator, how can I make money? You know, I'm going to go, I'm going to walk into my bedroom. How does that make money? You know? And so making the music can become the same way.
Absolutely. Though the business side is so crucial and important, particularly for artists,
sure.
Right?
Absolutely.
So how do you balance that out?
Well, that comes from staying consistent. That's what I mean by staying true to the game. Once you get in it, if this is something that you have business doing, eventually by staying consistent, something is going to do better than other things. You know, it's just the law of averages. If you're really dedicated to the craft and really trying to make the best possible product that you can possibly make and come up with, one of them is going to connect with the people. You know, as many interviews have you done, some of them have had great reactions. Some of them not so much, and some of them have been, you can probably think right now off the top, like one of them that just really resonated with the people. That's because you've done it so much consistently over time, and making the music is the same way. But what happens is people try to throw all the eggs in one basket, and they say they do one project, and they're thinking this one's going to go to the moon, you know. And it does okay, but boy, they feel defeated because it didn't go to the moon. They come out with another one. This one did not go to the moon. This one did a little bit better, or this one did a little bit worse. But instead of just continuing to do it because it's the job. It is what you do. They have these big expectations. That is where it'll halt things, you know. But you have to make sure also, if you're going to be a creative person, that you're setting yourself up to say, hey, I have to make sure that I'm not creating any extra responsibilities, you know, unnecessarily, that I'm going to have to then turn around and depend on this creativity to take care of, because it's fickle. So this is not the business where you want to have a car note. This is not the business where you want to have, you know, a bunch of credit card debt. This is not the business where you run up a bunch of things, and then you expect your creativity to have to foot the bill for that. You know, part of the payment of what we do is the creativity itself, is the expression, and that's part of the payment. So you thinking that, you know, the payment is only cash is the biggest mistake most people, you know, make when they're getting into this.
How is it that you incorporate feedback that you get regarding different musical projects? Last week, my guest on the show, John Bush, we were talking about feedback that people give you and how at times it's good to listen to, but at other times you need strong, firm boundaries around yourself, because their feedback may not actually be something that's conducive to what you're trying to portray.
Well, there's always some level of truth and something that you can glean from every piece of feedback, I feel, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't necessarily accept feedback at all. Any positive feedback or negative feedback.
Really? Okay.
No, I mean, well, I'll say I'm cordial and I appreciate the feedback. Don't get me wrong. I do appreciate it. But there's, in a lot of ways, unless you do this for yourself, I can be grateful that it resonates with you, but you can't necessarily, in most instances, a lot of people aren't necessarily qualified to praise me. I appreciate the fact that they like it, but you know, it's coming from someone who I know is skilled and learned in the same tradition in what I do. It's going to mean a lot more than just the random layman saying, "Hey, man, I like that," or you know, I like that. I appreciate it, but I'm not taking it to heart, you know, that they like it. You see what I mean? And it's the same way on the other side. If it's something negative, then maybe, you know, it had something, maybe some of the themes that I said didn't, you know, a lot of times the way that they express that they didn't like something may come across harsh or but if you listen close, there is still something in there that they're trying to say. You just may not like the tone, kind of like talking to a teenager. You know, it's like they just don't like the tone, but at the same time, you're trying to get across a message. And if somewhere you can find it and then say, oh, okay, well, maybe I might, you know, do that this way, do that way, you know, and adjust that. But over the years, you know, but I've read reviews from my first album, and I really haven't read a review since.
Wow.
You know, I don't read any of the reviews. And I don't, you know, it got to the point where I have to start engaging with the comments, you know, in social media and stuff.
Yep.
But again, that's where I just kind of had to get that side and say, okay, the praise, you know, I'm sincere in my thanks. I'm sincere in what I do, because I know my music doesn't have that mass appeal.
Yeah.
So if it resonates with someone, I'm seriously grateful and appreciative, because I can't believe that someone, you know, can listen to my crazy musings. but at the same time, you know, I don't take it to heart and feel like I'm something special because someone random, you know, enjoys what's happening.
Dear listener, for anyone just tuning in, we are speaking on Raising Your Inner Voice this evening with Count Bass D, who's a hip hop artist and luminary artist who kind of broadens hip hop more than just what maybe many people traditionally think of. You're touching on ego, I feel like, is what you're dancing around. And how, like, where does that come from that you can keep that in check?
Oh, well, you have a lot of humbling moments. I mean, you know, when you're trying to chase mastery and really trying to do this for a long time and do it well for a long time, and go into that uncharted territory of having a 30-year career and people still find you, as relevant now as they did back then. Well, for me, it was the inverse, because when I first started, my music was so eclectic, it didn't really find an audience for a little while. I had some people who appreciated it, but I wasn't as known as I am now. So I've had this trajectory where maybe at about a 30 to 45 degree, well, more like a 30 degree angle, I've kind of been increasing for the last 30 years. And so it's different from some people who have like a big run at the beginning and then, towards the end, they're trying to, make up. I am 51, and, I'm more popular than I ever was my whole entire life, which is really strange, but I much prefer it to be this way than another way, because I see some other people who are trying to, relive some glory days and some times that they had back in the days. And, and you can be a little bit more frustrating. So I'm just grateful for the way things are. And I try to stay, keep it consistent is the whole thing. It's just, but the ego wise, yeah, absolutely. You're going to be checked, because if you're chasing something, you're always going to see things and people doing things a better way, with a better presentation, with a nicer setup and things, and you just have to see it and be inspired by it, learn from it, and just continue on your personal journey.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of one of the premises for this show, right? We're all on personal journeys, but I think that we can learn from each other. And I think that we do learn from each other, because I have this strange view that we're all interrelated and interconnected in ways that we don't even understand or are able to acknowledge. How is it that you're able, I feel like you're bringing a very mature perspective to this conversation. Where does that come from for you? Is it just the longevity that you've put in?
It's really just the longevity. I haven't been dancing around saying, I'm doing this for a little bit, or, now I'm going to start this and do this over here. I've been doing this, for publicly for 30 years, internationally for 30 years, not even talking about all of the dues I had to pay just to get to point, to the starting line. So, I'm just grateful. That's, when you find something that that you were put on the earth to do, that, that's the part where you just have to be grateful. I look around and I see people sometimes still trying to figure out what their interests are, or what they possibly could get into, or what hobbies they may take up. It's, for me, it's all in this, because it's the only thing that's really has shown me an unconditional type of attachment in my whole entire life, so it's something that I don't really to have an audience for it is it's really humbling. It's overwhelming, to be honest with you. It's beyond just something that I came up with. It's a gift. That is the gift. It's not really necessarily the talent part, but the gift is just being able to actually do it and be viable. I just, I don't mess with that, you see. And if messing with that means I try to do something to level it up, or, I'd really like to, but, I can't really mess with that, because you can't sustain that. So for me, everything that I go and I do in this creative space, it has to be sustainable, or else I'm going to be going the opposite way.
Yeah. Where did you learn this sustainability from?
Well, trying to do it the opposite way,
Experience.
You try to work with record labels and it works for a while, but it's only while you're new. Or the other part of that with the record labels is, a lot of people will say to a young artist, well, make sure you get a lawyer to look over your contract. And, these people are complaining about Spotify because, they've got bad deals. They're in a big 360. Well, the point is it's margins, it's business. So if you go out here and you negotiate a real nice record deal with a label, it's fair. You're going to get paid handsomely if it does well. And then somebody else just says, hey, man, just give me the contract. I'll sign it. I don't care. Which one do you think they're going to push?
Right. Yeah. The better deal for them.
Right. The one with the margin. So it's not as if it's everyone who you hear complaining about reaching these heights and then realizing that they weren't getting paid. That's why they reach those heights. Yeah. You see what I mean? It comes with it. So you wouldn't have reached those heights if your deal was good.
Right.
You see what I mean? It takes that would take some kind of a, act of God, some kind of synergy. By and large, the artists that they push are the ones that they have sucker deals in place for. So you learn that you have to, if you want to do this you have to learn how to handle it and do it yourself, not bring other people into the equation and say, oh, I'm going to sign this guy and I'm going to sign this one. Me, I've always tried to teach people how I do what I do. And I let them know that this is what the gig is. It's going to bring you longevity, and everything that you've earned, you're going to be able to keep, but it's going to be work. There's going to be some administrative stuff that you're going to have to do. There's some other things that you're going to have to do. And the alternative of that is saying that you're going to sign to someone, assume that they're going to do it for you, and then complain when you feel when they get the money in first and then give you what's left, because it's kind of like taxes with record labels. It's okay, this is what this is what I owe, but I don't like that number, so I'm going to find more write-offs in order to pay less of a bill. Is the game a lot of people play. So record labels do the same thing. They say, well, this is what I owe, but instead of giving you this money, I'm going to say, oh, well, remember that hotel you stayed in here, or this over here, or, I did this, I made these calls on your behalf, or anyone's going to run up this expense thing. And then the next thing you know, the money that you paid is less. So if you want to not complain about that, and if you want to, you have to just do it yourself. And right now, each day, it gets easier and easier and easier. Once in 2007, when the iPhone came, when the BlackBerry was there, all of a sudden, everyone was able to handle so much more business on their own. This was great for creatives. Once the thing went from physical to MP3s and to other things, this has all been great for creatives. It's never been like this for us. So there was a lot of things that came that were harder. And people just complain and complain and complain. But they haven't been doing this from the 90s when it was really tough, and you didn't have an outlet and whatnot, we come from the days when people used to stand in the drugstore aisle with all the magazines, and you'd see 4 or 5 people there reading magazines.
Right.
And just taking in all, because that's what all you had. And so if you didn't have a press corps and somebody who was going around, you didn't have the ability to make any content. You didn't have social media.
Right.
You had to have someone who you could hire for press and who could do this and all of these other things for you. Each day this gets easier. It gets a lot easier, but you have to have the passion and be dedicated to want to get the things done to continue to exist and do it. And if you have it, you will. And if you don't, you'll find something else to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, such good words of insight. Dear listener, we're going to take a short break. We're going to hear some snippets of Player Programmer. This right here is Gimme Some on Raising Your Inner Voice. My guest this evening is Count Bass D. We'll be right back after this break.
air. Forget the love everywhere. Forget the music in the air. Forget the love everywhere.
Stay with us as we continue raising your inner voice with Jay Foss.
Hi folks, this is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber. If you're replacing the windows in your home, please see the Anderson 400 series windows on display at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or Plastown, New Hampshire. The Anderson 400 is attractive, durable, energy efficient, and reasonably priced. Remember, Anderson is the most trusted name in windows. See the Anderson 400 at any of our 3 locations. That's North Reading, Beverly, or Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
Moynihan Lumber, we measure up.
If you have any issues, topics, or voices that you think would be great to be heard on this show, please reach out, jay.foss@me.com. If you want to add your voice to the conversation, record a voice memo and email it to me, or tune in live, Sunday evenings at 7 p.m.
How's your 401k? I'm Luke Noble of Noble Financial Group. As a certified financial planner, I know you can't plan for everything, but we can prepare you for life's twists and turns. We'll make a plan to help your money last through your retirement years. Our team is dedicated to helping you achieve your financial goals. Let us help. Visit NobleFinancialGroupLLC.com.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through MML Investor Services. Member SIPC. Noble Financial Group is not an affiliate or subsidiary of MML Investor Services.
The race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong. In the words of Rodney King, can we get along? Little ones to him belong, right or wrong. I am right where I belong. The race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong. In the words of Rodney King, can we get along? Little ones to him belong, right or wrong. I am right where I belong.
Making our corner of the world a little brighter, online and on air, raising your inner voice with Jay Foss.
And we're back on Raising Your Inner Voice. This evening, my guest is a hip-hop artist, Count Bass D. And dear listener, you know how I love extrapolating what artists do and then applying that to your life. So far in the conversation, Count Bass has been talking all about kind of his personal journey and relationship with labels and how he needs to make the right decisions for him. I hope that you're paying attention to your own life and making the right decisions for you that you need to do and doing what you need to do to set yourself up for success. So the track that we just came back from break listening to is Ecclesiastical Emergency. Count, talk to me a little bit more about this track.
That track is just, it was something that I had the chorus, but the problem was, you know, filling in the verse or something like that. I just wasn't hearing it. I would just sing that part to myself, and then I didn't want to hear anything else. So I said, okay, well, this will go on an instrumental record of some sort, but it comes from the ecclesiastical verse, and 9/11, which is, that's where the emergency part comes from, because it's 911. But it's just, it's just kind of the perseverance that I have to do in order to stay around and doing this. And I think what I was saying in the chorus there kind of speaks for itself. It's not really saying too much, But it's just, you kind of ponder it during the breaks when the instrumental part comes, and then that's it.
Absolutely. Oh, so good. I want to talk with you about collaborating, if you don't mind.
No.
Do you have any favorite collaborators?
There was a time when I used to really be able to collaborate really easily. It was really easy to collaborate, but that's gotten more difficult over the years. But I'd say probably, obviously, my most favorite. I wouldn't say my most favorite, but probably the one that was most memorable and magical was working with Snoop Dogg, because it came at a time when I was about to just pause for a minute. I had toured for a couple of years straight, and I had decided to move here to Pennsylvania after my third tour in a row. And we're talking 60 something shows in 70 days. I was doing these real epic runs. And so I came and I just wanted to take a break for a while. I felt like, I'd done so much music over the years and just wanted to just kind of get here and pause for a while. Mm-hmm. And he just randomly, hit me up through social media and said he wanted to work with me, and eventually just gave me the music that we worked on to put out myself. And so, it was the reason why it was so magical is because, here's the guy who's one of the most famous people in the world. And here I am in a town where we don't even get mail delivered to our doors. We have to go to the post office and get it. And it's not like I moved to Los Angeles or I moved to New York or I had some kind of hot shop manager or anything. All I did was continuously do what I've been doing for all of these years. That's all I did, and try to do it the best I possibly could with the gifts I've been given. I didn't do anything else, Jay.
Yeah.
That's it. And so that's the only reason why that felt so grateful, because I have people who are peers of mine who, have a little bit more of a profile than I do, but I'd never be able to get them on the phone.
Yeah.
I'd never be able to, they would, they'd shun me or anything, but here comes big old Snoop Dogg, out of nowhere, like, hey, here you go, so even now it's been years, but man, I mean, that's really still just kind of put a turbo booster in what I do.
About face. Count bass. About face. Too much pressure. Somebody might not make it today.
So much pressure.
It's too much pressure. Somebody wanna lock me away.
It's too much pressure.
It's too much pressure. Somebody might not make it today.
So much pressure.
It's too much pressure. Somebody wanna lock me away.
It's too much pressure.
Pressure. Polarizing pressure to the lesson. Nowadays, everybody seem like they be stressing. They used to laugh at us. Now look at how they dressing. Walk up to the usher to deliver my confession. Need a psychiatrist for this type of my profession. It's hard to survive if you alive. It's a blessing. Count 'em, and I can get it done with no discretion, direction, and put the spotlight on my reflection. I'm vexing. No instructions needed. I went undefeated. If you catch a case, my nigga, I hope you beat it. They got a bench warrant for the homie. He been receipted. They gave him an L for the crime, and he depleted. Too much pressure. Somebody might not make it today.
So much pressure.
It's too much pressure. Somebody wanna lock me away.
It's too much pressure.
It's too much pressure. Somebody might not make it today.
So much pressure.
It's too much pressure. Somebody wanna lock me away.
It's too much pressure.
Pressure.
Forgetting all things which are behind. Well-to-do count is now instantly new, immediately fresher. Too much pressure. Used to use my game to cash out and undress her. Cop a new coupe, catch some feelings and drool. Kick it with Snoop. Enemies become your footstool. Tricking is unnecessary. Nowadays we make it rain on your commissary. Don't try this at home. Results may vary.
Too much pressure. Somebody might not make it today.
So much pressure.
It's too much pressure. Somebody wanna lock me away.
It's too much pressure.
It's too much pressure. Somebody might not make it today.
So much pressure.
It's too much pressure. Somebody wanna lock me away.
It's too much pressure.
Too much pressure. Somebody might not make it today.
So much pressure.
It's too much pressure. Somebody wanna lock me away.
It's too much pressure.
It's too much pressure. Somebody might not make it today.
So much pressure.
It's too much pressure. Somebody wanna lock me away.
It's too much pressure.
His role has transformed. He's like America's favorite rapper granddad or something. Like the role that he has transformed into is just hilarious to me to think about where he started off from.
Exactly. And what's funny is that he not only is he one of the funniest guys that you'll just naturally funny guys that you'll ever meet, but do you know, like when you look at him and you see, I don't know if you've ever met him before, but if you look at Snoop on TV and things and you say, you know, I bet you if I'd have a good, he's exactly the person that you think that he would be if you ever met him. And when I met him, I felt like I grew up with him in my own personal neighborhood. Like I felt like we do, like he would remember my childhood stories. That's the gift he really has. Like there's a connection to people that this guy has. I've never seen somebody be so good at being famous. You know what I mean? Like there's so many other people who I've met who are kind of awkward about it or whatever. He is just the most naturally gifted, famous person that I've ever met. And so, you know, no matter what, you know, I'm a Snoop Dogg fan, supporter, or whatever for the rest of my days, you know, because that's not somebody who had to do what he did. And so to me, he's the greatest, period, you know, of all time. And that's just how, you know, I feel about it.
Absolutely. Oh, so good. Well, and I would think that for you, being able to collaborate with people like that, it really adds to your connection with your audience, whether it's in concert, in person, or even just through the music that you're continuing to create.
Well, you mean as far as like bringing in a larger audience?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You know, that comes with its tricks though, you know, because, you know, if you're meeting someone through, if someone is being introduced to you through somebody else, you know, then they've got to kind of get to know you personally now, you know, so it's like, yeah, I met him through them, but, you know, at the same time, now they've got to come and figure out whether or not they like you or do they only like you with, you know, somebody else. So, you know, it's kind of, then you have to figure out, well, am I going to switch up how I'm doing it? Because if I do, you know, I could kind of maybe appeal to those new people who are coming in. And then at some point you just have to say, well, you know, this is kind of how this person got in touch with me. It was me doing how I do it. So, you know, you have to fight the urge to try to, you know, see if you can, you know, switch up the recipe and just stick with what you're doing and how you're doing and go with your instincts, you know. So
how is it? I feel like you're someone who's evolved musically over the years, but at the same time, you still have your signature style and kind of sway with the music that you're creating. How do you balance that out?
Well, okay, it's just two things. I have my personal taste, things that I like.
Okay.
You know, so there's certain things. And then the other part is I'm trying to improve as a musician. So what you see is me with my personal taste, but able to do it better, you know, because I've had some sounds that I've been hearing in my head since I was 4, 5, 6 years old that I just didn't have the musicality to achieve yet. You know what I mean? So you might still, I still have songs and things that I've heard, you know, all my life that I just didn't necessarily know where to put my fingers on the keyboard yet, you know, or I just didn't know how to chop up a certain sample a certain way yet, or I just didn't know. So as I continue to learn more about the equipment that I use, the instruments that I'm attempting to master, you know, records and becoming a better DJ and all of these things, that's where, as it comes into my personal taste, that's how the evolution of my sound continues to go. If I'm not trying to get better, then it's not gonna continue. At some point, it's just gonna flatline and plateau. So I have to always be trying to get better. Now, the caveat to that, though, is this, right?
Yeah.
If you're a virtuoso, very few virtuosos are also great composers.
Okay.
Okay. So meaning like John Lennon and Paul McCartney are masters of melody. Some of the most masters of melody we've seen in the history of music. But neither one of them are considered virtuosos. You know, like you think of Eddie Van Halen as a virtuoso. You don't think of John Lennon as a virtuoso on guitar.
Right.
You know, or you think of certain pianists as virtuoso, but you don't think of Paul McCartney. But as far as being able to compose, it takes a certain skill level. But as you learn, you incorporate some of the things that you're learning into your compositions. Now, once you skip over that and all you're doing is practicing scales, practicing things, everything is going to seem beneath you. There won't be much discovery in what's happening. So you've gone past your ability to compose. This is just what I've seen over the years and how this has become my philosophy. Okay.
Yep.
And I'm sure somebody may disagree with me, and I'm not saying this. I'm just telling you this is how I look at it.
Yeah.
Once you achieve this virtuosity, you hear something and everything sounds like Mary Had a Little Lamb to you. You know, you're not fascinated by anything. Now you can play anybody else's stuff,
right? But
your mind is so far beyond that you just don't have that sense of wonder because you've practiced it all the way.
Yeah.
You did these rudiments over and over and over. So now nothing really, you lose that. That's what I've seen.
Yeah.
So it's very rare that you find somebody who's considered a virtuoso and a heavily skilled composer at the same time. So balancing that is also something, because I don't want to just practice until I get so great that I've skipped over. As soon as I'm practicing and I run into something, composition comes first. I shut it down and I work out that idea. And I'll come back and then maybe do it, but sometimes, like in the middle of practicing, you might doodle around and say, oh, wait a second, what's that? And your teacher will slap your hand and say, hey, get back to practice, but not me. I venture right off right there. It's right when I venture off and doodle into something new. And that's how that happens.
Well, and what you're touching on is making me think of applying this for the non-musical person. I mean, that's applying it to life, right? So applying practicing to life and the spontaneity of going down and actually enjoying life, of not overdoing life, but staying in touch and staying, I don't want to use the word relevant, but I guess instead I'd rather say staying fresh and up to date with your own life.
Right.
You know
Absolutely.
What I'm saying?
Because it's a gift every day.
Yeah.
That's the problem, is that the only way that you're not doing that is if you're taking it for granted, as if, it's just something that just happens because you're just supposed to be here. It's a gift. Each time, each breath is a gift, and it's not, no matter how many reminders we get, or we see somebody like Kobe Bryant, who we know his money was right, we know his health was right, we know everything was right, but it still was, his life was snatched away from him. And, no matter what, we sit there and think, man, if I just had my 401k was a little bit better, or if my such and such was just a little bit of this. Yeah. But we don't understand what this breath that we're taking, it's a gift right then and there. And so when you appreciate that and you can stop and do that, then, as you said, you can go ahead and keep practicing life and appreciate the lessons and things that come with every step of it.
Are you a very spiritual person? Because I feel like you're applying gratitude for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Talk to me more.
I would say I wouldn't, I don't necessarily use people's terms. Okay. That's the problem. I have a problem with, Jay. So like, if I say that I'm religious, you know, then some people might just automatically, their head just goes, you know?
Yeah.
So, but I'd say I'm definitely, I'm spiritual regimented, you know, so that's what I would consider that. I have a spiritual regiment, and mine personally does come out of the Christian tradition, because that's where my introduction to music came from, you know, and it's been over the years, my experience that the only musicians that really, you know, really intimidate me and put me in check and keep me seriously humble are the ones that come out of that tradition. You know, they're the greatest ones that I've run into in 30 years. And so that alone lets me know that I don't have to necessarily go to a different faith or anything as a musician. Remember, music is up here for me. It's not just something that I kind of just like a little bit. It's all the way at the very tippity top for me. So if I'm going to walk into another moral code, the music's got to be at the tippity top. So why would I leave? You know? So that's kind of what my personal journey comes from, you know, and I feel like as long as it's golden rule infused, I can then have a relationship with anybody from any of those. There's like about 52 of them you can choose from that has some element of treating people like you want to be treated. That's the only thing that I really require, you know, and I can get along with you, Jack. Now, if you're anti that, then you're not a person that I really want to know anyway. You know, I don't want to know you at all. But if you in some way just feel basically that you should treat people like you want to be treated, then man, I can get along with just about anybody who that's at their core. You know, and I keep it right there, Jay, and then that's it for me. I don't really try to go too much deeper or, you know, too much more with it than that. But even though I come from a long line of people who, you know, are from the cloth, I'm just the only one out here who's heavily influenced by it, but I still just kind of got my thing going on over here, you know.
Do you find a lot of like-minded people that you end up running into?
Yeah, I mean, as long as we keep it there, you know. You know, if we want to get specific and confuse things, then all of a sudden it gets confusing. You know, I might dabble in some baseball with people and stuff, but I'm not going to get into too much more of anything that divides us than that. You know, I mean, for me, only thing I'm going to really be discussing is either just music, the weather, you know, real surface things and community things and stuff going on in my community. Certain things happening here with my traffic light. I don't really worry about a lot of other politics, our potholes, you know, stuff like that, whether or not you're going to spray, don't spray, you know, stuff like that, you know, in the springtime and, you know, things like that. But I don't really get into a whole bunch of other things that's not my bit. I aggressively mind my business, Jay. I operate aggressively. I'm serious about it.
Did you have someone cross boundaries at some point? Why do you think you value that so much?
I mean, I feel like people try to cross boundaries with me, you know? So it's like, you know, I think the whole thing is, and I understand, you know, you see somebody who seems to have something figured out. Some people are curious, you know?
Right.
But at the same time, I will give you, you know, certain overarching principles about how I conduct myself and some of my philosophies on things. But I'm not here to argue and you know, talk about things that I don't control and stuff like that. I just don't have any time for it. No debates. I just don't have any time for it. So, you know, this music stuff takes up a lot of time. So I don't have no time for all that.
It's so funny. When I first started this program, I had many people say to me, "Oh, you're going to get into some heated debates with people?" And I'm like, no, that's not the point of listening to your inner voice. Like, it's not an argument. This is listening to different perspectives intentionally and learning from that. Like, I think it's a completely different perspective about just interacting with people.
Right. And I you know, and you would hope that that's just the way that people would, see it that way. But there's low hanging fruit, and then you got, that of engagement, if you really want to get, what they say, if it bleeds, it leads, so this negativity is just kind of something that you can get passion and put yourself and draw attention to yourself with. And so, you see it sometimes, like online, you'll see a beautiful YouTube video and something, and then you do the worst thing possible, which is go down to the comments, and then you go down to the comments, and then here comes, here it is, somebody's got something you didn't even notice until, this guy came, or this person came out and said it. So it's like, you just have to just try to negotiate and navigate how you're going to deal in that kind of world, because that's just human nature. It's not like everyone, it's just human nature. That's just how it is. That's the reason why when they go to a restaurant and have a great experience, nobody leaves a review, or very few people leave a review.
Right.
But if food's cold and something happens or whatever, I mean, they don't even leave the restaurant before the review is there. And it's a mile long, The good review is great place, I'm going to come back. The negative review is, okay, first, let me tell you what happened first. First, we came in and we, and that's just how it is. It's just human nature. So you just have to navigate and negotiate how you're going to deal with it.
Where do you think you got this confidence and self-worth that you're portraying in regards to not paying attention, either good or bad, to the feedback?
Well, I mean, I put myself through the paces so hard in here, it's a brutal process of, really trying to get it right. And so by the time, if someone is noticing really specific, detailed things about the music and whatnot, then I'll be like, wow, you heard that? Or wow, you noticed that? Or wow, you knew where that came? That's something different. But most of the time it's just some kind of general something. So the feedback is just kind of noise, it's like usually some kind of something coming with it, So, and that's even the praise a lot of times, you just have to be careful because you get caught up in the praise thinking something is something. And, you're just listening to a lot of people who are telling you, or like sometimes people might, hey, you strike out 4 times, you'll get them next time, and oh man, you're still great. Not necessarily, you might get sent down to AAA.
Right.
So it's like you have to be real with yourself, and if you don't have that way to be real with yourself, and you're looking for outside voices to help you, you're not gonna last long. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's not really gonna happen because you're gonna. If other people's critiques of you are harder than your own, you're going to need them around to help you every step you're taking.
Right.
So that's where it comes from. It's just the process of you having to be really brutal in order to make sure that you're satisfying yourself, having a real high standard.
Such a delightful conversation. Dear listener, you're listening to Raising Your Inner Voice. This evening, we're featured a special guest on the program, Count Bass D, who's a hip-hop artist, just dropping gems of knowledge and inspiration left and right, and it's greatly appreciated. We're playing snippets from his album Player Programmer, and we'll be right back after this break.
Want to connect with Jay? Dial in as we continue Raising Your Inner Voice.
Are you worried about the stock market, your 401k, or rising costs? Hi, I'm Luke Noble of Noble Financial Group. As a certified financial planner, I know you can't plan for everything, but our dedicated team of professionals can better prepare you so your money lasts as long as you do. Let us help. Visit noblefinancialgroup.llc.com.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through MML Investor Services. Member SIPC. Noble Financial Group is not an affiliate or subsidiary of MML Investor Services.
Hi, folks. Paul from Gentilly Brewing. Have you been to our tap room in Beverly, Massachusetts yet? No? What? Oh, come on. All of our beer is gluten reduced, and we make our own hard seltzer cocktails and shandies. And we are dog and family friendly. Always. Our tap room is more than just beer. Pack up the kids and the dogs and come to 59 Park Street and see it for yourself. Or leave them at home. You'll be back. For upcoming events, hours, and to see our current beer list, visit gentillybrewing.com. That's GENTILE brewing.com to plan your visit.
What does living a better life mean? And what's your process in figuring that out? If you want to join in the conversation live, tune in Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern. If you want to gather your thoughts first, record a voice memo and email it to jay.foss@me.com, because I would love to have your voice in this conversation. If you think someone else might need a conversation like this one, then let them know to get involved.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber. Professional builders choose Andersen Windows because they are the #1 trusted and recommended window and door brand in the United States. Andersen Windows and patio doors offer beautiful natural wood interiors, low maintenance exteriors, and outstanding energy efficiency. See the complete line of Andersen Windows on display at Moynihan Lumber in Beverly, North Reading, and Plastown, New Hampshire, or visit us at MoynihanLumber.com.
Moynihan Lumber, we measure up.
Gas guzzler, I can't get enough of a ne'er-do-well. Hard head yields a sufferer. You stand in front of a mill, not the run of the skill at the zenith. Big screen behemoth, crew is not needed. How you think I succeeded? Put the U in team and kindly proceed. I'm an individual, not independent. Livestock, rock, diamond pendants.
It's what I got the chauffeur, caddy in the sofa. Either that or not too shabby in the Rover King. Mac Gaddy and some loafers. Ben had the globe since plastic on.
Not just another talk show. It's time to be heard online and on air. Raising your inner voice with Jay Foss.
There's no accounting for taste. A great big Cadillac.
Live it how I dream it. All of it I seen the industry. Don't like me, tried to play me, now they stream. Cause I'm slamming like the cement. My foes wanna repay. Got more brothers with soul than Isleys up in Tina. For the check, I make the trek. Damn sure been round the block before. Loyalty Avenue is a one-way street. Can't get my reps with these rules and refs. This whack.
Focus on the craft, forging my own path. Found a groove with these records like phonograph. When they passed, I was prone to laugh. Still killing them with half the staff like a flag. Swag going ballistic, these little gimmicks getting dragged. Don't get it twisted, we still in it for the bag. Gotta get me a nice platinum plaque. It goes well.
That is Caddy on Raising Your Inner Voice this evening with my special guest, Count Bass D. Caddy features your old Droog. Tell me about this collaboration in this song. This is like a funky one. I'm loving it.
Well, yeah, it's wild because, you know, we're just doing some hip hop there and trying to take it to another realm. He's a guy who's been influenced by a guy who I spent some time working with, and one of the greatest artists, definitely the greatest artist as far as creatively that I've ever worked with. His name is MF Doom, and he passed away right, I guess maybe during the first year of the pandemic, and he just influenced so many generations of rappers and hip hoppers and creatives and just all kinds of just any kind of cool segment of person out there. You know, he's been a big force in that. So that's brought a lot of younger rap artists, you know, from that vein who I guess have kind of sought me out or just kind of been, you know, in the same orbit with as I, you know, continue to do this. And man, it was just such a great thing to be able to put something together with him because, you know, he's now and he's very now. And for him to be so now and for me to be 51 and still be able to, come up with something together. You know, when I was younger, I used to see, you know, artists, you know, like Chuck Berry or some of these people when they got into their 50s and things and I was younger. I just took a lot of notes in seeing like, man, you know, why does it have to switch up so much? You know, why can't something be sustainable, and I just saw that there were a lot of factors usually that happened by the time an artist got to my age that made them not able to really connect or have something that the people still found interesting. I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, and I just never wanted to be one of those artists. I just always, I wanted to keep that 30 degree terrain, incline going even now. And, boy, I'm just really grateful that, things are working out. Even if it stops this year, I'm just grateful it's worked out this long.
Well, and you have, again, that ongoing attitude of gratitude for really, you're comfortable in your skin, right?
Right. Yeah, but you never know if other people are going to be comfortable with it, just because I think that I'm grateful for what I do. I study the skill set, and I think I know what, what sounds right, so you think you have decent taste, but you just don't know what the public is going to think, and it's not that, again, this isn't set up to where the public has to buy in on a billboard level in order for me to be sustainable. But there is some sort of a level has to be there to the point where every time I'm putting something out, I'm not getting heckled and trolled, as if I'm some sort of a, joke. And that's the main thing. You just want to make sure that when you do come out with something, that it's not, someone is not being mean to you. And, I feel like if you're respecting the craft enough, that won't happen. And at least that's just my, that's what I've put all my faith in so far. And it seemed to be working out. So I'm going to continue.
With ending your newsletters, you end with "Stay true to the game."
Yeah.
Talk to me about that concept.
Well, I say never. Well, it's like it's. I think it's Psalm 103. Psalm 103. It's one of the Psalms in the 100s, but it say, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not His benefits." And I keep getting stuck on that part, the benefits. I can't stop just talking about the benefits, but. It's like when you stick to something and you stay consistent to it and you stay true to it and you try to do the best you can, not perfect, not 100%, not the sky's the limit, but you really lock in and you say, this is my framework. This is how I'm going to operate, and I'm going to do it the best I possibly can. When you stick to that, there's going to be benefits that come with that. Trust me, they're going to be benefits. No matter what it is, it's going to be benefits from you being true and not cheating it. There's going to be benefits that come to that. And so I always say, never underestimate the benefits of staying true to this game, the game of life, the game of this music, whatever the game is that you're in. If you stay true to it, there's going to be benefits that come eventually. I don't care. It's impossible. You can write that on a deposit slip and hand it to your teller, and they're gonna have to do something with it.
Well, if only we could bring that to the bank, right?
Well, you can take it to the bank. I'm going to stand by that.
For anyone just tuning in, this is Raising Your Inner Voice, and my guest this evening is Count Bass D, a musical luminary whose journey began in the 70s, and he's become such an influential force in the hip-hop realm. As we're wrapping up this interview, I just wanted to talk about sampling for a second with you. Do you sample the music that you're actually playing? Because I know that it's a combination of sampling and live instrumentation.
Yes, and it's a gray area and a touchy subject with the way it's done, But the thing is it's kind of like if somebody would look at Banksy. There's an artist named Banksy, and he's very, very famous around the world. And he'll put a piece of art up on someone's wall. Now, the piece of art that he put up on the wall is worth more than the building. Right. So now what's it's like the laws of vandalism or sampling, remember what I said at first is that this is like RO graffiti. So it's like the laws haven't necessarily caught up in things. And we all know that, certain things happen and whatever. So you try to be a good steward and not do anything, crazy and pretentious. Any kind of thing that I've done, or as far as like physical copies, is always something real super limited, where you basically are just making the expenses back. It's just kind of just to keep something in posterity. This is the art form, and it's kind of like what Andy Warhol was doing with visuals. You know, it's like Ansel Adams with photography. But the situation is, you know, if you look at all of those graffiti artists, once the graffiti was gone from the trains, now the art is the photographers who took pictures of that. They now own those pieces, and the graffiti artists, you know, they really don't get anything. But we don't, as far as on the oral side of the music, like how we make it with this, that's why it's underground hip hop. You can't really be out here trying to drive, you know, big foreign cars and have, you know, necklaces and all of these things. That's not what we do. This is really an art form. And to some degree, we understand that there's not much that comes with it.
Right.
So, you know, again, as I said, a lot of the payment is in the satisfaction and in participating in the craft itself. It's like building a sandcastle. Eventually it's gonna disappear, and you have to be okay with that. It's why when you follow those graffiti writers, if you really want to know, that's been my compass and my North Star for my entire career, you know, for at least this century, is following the graffiti writers and just, you know, just being inspired by their journey and the way that they operate, because, you know, in a musical sense, that's pretty much the same thing that we're doing.
know for a lot of hip-hop artists, they are exposed and heavily influenced by genres outside of hip-hop itself, right?
Right.
So you're grabbing and pulling and being influenced by such a wider net than necessarily what followers of hip-hop are.
Right. Well, that is hip-hop. You know, there's a canon that we follow called the Ultimate Breaks and Beats series that Lenny Roberts and Breakbeat Lou put together. And there's about 125 songs there, but he captured a lot of what's considered, you know, the breaks and beats of the foundation of hip hop. And the golden era, which I consider from 1986 to 96, used a lot of the elements from those compilations. Well, these are songs that even in the park jams in the late 70s and early 80s that were being played. And there were some other ones, but this 125 songs, if you look it up on Spotify or any of the other places, you'll probably find it. The Ultimate Breaks and Beats. And snippets and drum breaks and stuff all come from these places. Well, once those compilations got shut down, you know, eventually because of, you know, certain things, people had to then go on further journeys. They had to now say, okay, now we have to go even further, and we have to look for, you know, really random places where, you know, no one would scour, would even go. And the only way to be original was to try to go where no one had gone before and really be on the frontiers of sound and of recorded music. And that's what we've done. You know, for 30 years, I've gone out pretty much every week or multiple times a week and look for records, look for CDs. And it really is a whole thing. You know, once the U.S. Postal Service made those stamps of hip hop, that's the very first time that I felt official in my culture of what I was doing, because I felt like it was really being recognized by a government entity like that, you know? And ever since, you know, I've kind of tripled down and gone even harder.
So it's so interesting
to be real with you,
that you're finding just an embrace by that popularization? Because I know a lot of people get turned off by it.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I mean, for me, you get turned off. I don't know why you would. You know, if you've really been participating in it for so long and been marginalized and been cast out, you know, when someone gives you gives you a form of legitimacy. Well, now I can sit next to a grandmother on the airplane and say, you know, yes, I'm a hip hop musician. You know, and when it was years ago, I wouldn't say that. You know, I wouldn't say anything like that. But now that hip hop has been stamped, it's been at the Olympics, you know, in these different places, you know, the culture has become more legitimized. You know, and I think as long as, you know, I've never tried to, you know, sit here and, you know, and think that, you know, millions are supposed to come from the way that I make the music. You know, it's like, but, you know, so it's always been a food truck, a grassroots type operation, you know, for decades. And I'm satisfied with that, you know, and we, you know, we just get enough to kind of, you know, meet our needs and keep it moving from there.
Any last thoughts as we're wrapping up?
No, I'm just grateful again. You know, as you said, the gratitude side, you know, I feel like it's something a lot of people say. But for me, you know, when I say with my little regimented spirituality, you also have to have something or someone that you showing this gratitude to. And I think if you just try to run around and just say, hey, I'm gratitude to who? Gratitude to who? You know, if I let you out at the intersection, you know, and you just throw your hand up in the air, I want you to throw it in my direction to show that gratitude to me, you know, to someone. So I know it's sincere. So you know it's sincere. You know, you can't just be, you know, so I think with the gratitude, you just make sure that you also consider what direction that gratitude goes into. You know, is there an entity or is there something that's granting you these gifts and this favor that you're experiencing that you're supposed to be so grateful for? You know, that's the next phase that I got into after I was just gratitude.
So good. Count Bass D, thank you so much for being on Raising Your Inner Voice. Dear listener, we turn things over to you. Are you paying attention to your own life in areas that you need to be grateful for and in ways that you're not just throwing gratitude out generally, but are you being specific with the gratitude in a way that also helps you be sustainable in your own life? I hope that you gained a lot from this episode with Count Bass D, and we'll be back with more each and every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Time with Raising Your Inner Voice. Please be kind and gentle with yourself and share that same grace with others.
If you're enjoying this podcast, please help spread the word about Raising Your Inner Voice. Join the conversation live. Email jay.foss@me.com to suggest ideas to explore. Also share this podcast with your friends. Let those who need conversations like this have a chance to check it out.
Then let them know to get involved.